Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, it's easy and fast. My husband became more attractive, so I tried to make him jealous, but it didn't turn out the way I expected. I don't know if this makes me a bad person, but I needed to write this down to get it out of my head. Maybe someone will understand. Or help me sort through my thoughts, because lately, I haven't been sleeping well, and I feel trapped between who I was, who I am, and what I no longer recognize in my own life. My name is Emily, I'm 25 years old, and I'm married to James, who's 29. We've been together for 5 years and married for 3. He was always a heavy guy ever since I met him. When we started dating, he weighed 360 pounds, but that was never an issue for me. On the contrary, his personality always seemed charming to me, funny, laid back, with a quirky confidence mixed with a lot of warmth. I remember at the beginning, he'd say things like, "I'm so lucky a girl like you noticed a big guy like me." He said it with such a genuine smile that it didn't sound sad or defeated, but like he was truly grateful. I'd tell him it had nothing to do with his looks, that I loved him for how he made me feel, for his sense of humor, for his outlook on life. And that was true. James was the kind of person who laughed at himself, always ready with a joke for any awkward moment. When we went to gatherings and someone made an offhand comment about his weight, he'd beat them to the punch with a quip and gracefully shift the focus. It seemed like nothing hurt him. He was one of those larger-than-life people, body, voice, presence. He always gave big hugs, and I felt safe in his arms. I won't lie, his weight did bring some practical challenges. For example, he couldn't join me on long hikes because he got tired quickly, and we avoided physical activities due to his limited stamina. Sometimes he snored so loudly we had to sleep in separate beds, but those were small things to me because the love I felt outweighed all that. Everything changed last year when, during a routine checkup, the doctor diagnosed him with prediabetes and mentioned clear signs of fatty liver disease. I vividly remember James's face as we left the clinic. It wasn't the look of someone scared, but of someone who'd just woken up from a long dream. He didn't say anything on the drive home, and that night he spent hours on the computer researching metabolic diseases, diets, and stories of people who had reversed those diagnoses. The following week, without me pushing him, he completely changed his lifestyle. And when I say completely, I'm not exaggerating. He cut out sodas, sugars, and carbs. He started making meals that tasted like nothing at first but that he learned to enjoy over time. He woke up early to walk, then to jog. He swapped TV for health books and YouTube workout channels. He learned to cook with ingredients I didn't even know existed. His discipline was admirable. I supported him through the whole process. At first with enthusiasm, then with some distance, not because I didn't want him to be healthy, but because his new routine became so strict that there was no room for spontaneity. James stopped being the laid-back guy who ate pizza with me on Fridays and ordered donuts on Sundays. Now he analyzed everything, counted calories, weighed his food, and if we were invited to dinner, he brought his own meal. I was proud of him. Of course. I watched him lose weight and cheered him on, telling him he was doing something incredible, but I also started noticing small changes that weren't just physical. He stopped joking as much. He became quieter, more serious. When we talked, the conversation often revolved around his progress. How much weight had he lost? What muscle was he working on? What supplement was he trying? There was nothing wrong with that, I know, but I struggled to find the old James in this new, determined, focused, different version of him. He now weighs 210 pounds. He's lost nearly 150 pounds in a year. The transformation is staggering. His face is sharper, his body has taken shape, his arms are toned, and his back looks broad. He no longer needs plus-size shirts. Now he buys clothes that fit well, that he likes how he looks in. He learned to style his hair differently and even started taking care of his skin. I don't know when it happened, but some days I look at him and can't help but think, this isn't the man I married. And the worst part is, other women notice him too. Sometimes we go for walks in the park, and I see women glancing at him. Some even smile at him. He doesn't respond, of course. James is still faithful. I've never found anything suspicious, no strange texts, no odd behavior. But that doesn't stop what I feel. I no longer have the same control I used to. Not possessive control, but the confidence of knowing I was his everything. Before, he looked at me like I was a miracle, saying I was too good for him, hoping I'd never get tired of him someday. Now, though he still says he loves me, it's not with that tone of surprise or gratitude, it's with confidence, with strength, like he now believes he deserves everything good. And maybe he does, but it's hard for me to admit that because I fell in love with a tender, insecure, funny, big-hearted man. And this new James, though physically healthier, emotionally feels like someone I don't fully recognize. He doesn't need my hugs to feel enough anymore. He doesn't seek my approval. It feels like he's the one approving now, and I'm not sure I want that. Update, I've read many of your comments. Some were empathetic, others pretty harsh. I was surprised by how many people called me controlling, toxic, or said my fragile ego couldn't handle my husband being attractive now. And yeah, I get how it might look that way from the outside, but it's not all black and white. Someone wrote, your problem is that you can't control your husband anymore, and that makes you insecure. What's wrong with wanting some control in your relationship? Isn't that normal? Shouldn't it be that way? Of course, I want to control my husband. Who wouldn't? I love him, and feeling him become more independent, more attractive, more desired, it's hard. It's like watching someone who was only yours now belong a little to the world. And the worst part is, he's not doing anything wrong. That's the most frustrating thing. I can't point to anything concrete to complain about, but I still feel like I'm losing him, even though he's by my side every day. Recently, we had a fight that ended with us leaving a restaurant before even ordering. And though I feel a bit bad about how I reacted, I also think it was necessary because if I don't set boundaries, who will? It was a Saturday night. We went to a new restaurant James found online, a trendy place with a healthy menu. I wasn't thrilled about going out, but he insisted it'd be good for us to have a date night. We sat down and started looking at the menu. As usual, he went straight for the salad section. He doesn't even ask if I want to share something or order an appetizer anymore, he just focuses on his thing. While he was looking at the menu, a waitress approached, a young, pretty woman in a not-so-subtle uniform. Any questions, sir? Or would you like a recommendation? She asked with a smile I found overly friendly. James looked a bit uncomfortable and said, do you have any salads? Then she stepped closer, standing right next to him, leaning in to point at something on the menu. She was practically on top of him. Her cleavage was right in his face. It wasn't even subtle, it was blatant. Sure, she said, this one's one of the best. I highly recommend it. I tensed up immediately. I saw James lean back slightly in his seat. Thanks, I'll consider it, he said politely. Could you step back a bit, please? She laughed softly, as if it was nothing. Sorry, sir, won't happen again. And that's when I snapped, not right then, but it felt like a slap in the face. Not just because she dared to get so close, but because he didn't look at me, didn't seek my eyes, didn't notice how I felt. He acted like it was just a funny anecdote, like nothing happened. When she left, I asked, did you notice how she looked at you? What? Who? The waitress? Emily, she was just being friendly, and I backed off. No, that's not the point. The point is you let it happen. Why didn't you shut it down right away? What did you want me to do? Push her away? I was polite. I asked for space. What more do you want? I want you to act like someone who has a wife sitting next to him. I want you to look at me and make me feel respected when a woman like that gets close to you. He sighed, put the menu down, and leaned back. This isn't about the waitress, Emily. This is about you and what you've been feeling for months. No matter what I do, you're always going to think I'm about to betray you. And what do you expect? That I'm fine with every woman looking at you like you're fresh meat? That I pretend nothing's changed? I'm not fresh meat. I'm your husband, and I haven't given you any reason to doubt me. You've become a different person, James. You're not the man I married. He looked down. For a few seconds, he didn't say anything. Then he looked me in the eyes and said quietly, and you're not the woman who supported me unconditionally anymore, are you, Emily? You don't look at me with love, you look at me like I'm the enemy. That hit me hard because it was partly true. I've caught myself checking his phone for no reason, asking disguised questions as jokes, doubting his gym trips. And he hasn't done anything wrong, but I can't help it. My stomach knotted, and my face burned. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and said, I don't feel like eating with someone who lets other women flirt with him in front of me. Seriously, you're leaving over this? I'm not leaving, I replied. We're leaving because I'm not staying here watching you act single while other women look at you like you're available. James didn't say anything else. He got up, followed me, and we left in silence. We didn't talk in the car. At home, he locked himself in the study. I went to bed without eating. The next day, he acted like nothing happened, greeted me with a kiss on the forehead and offered me coffee. And that made me feel even worse because it seems like he's on another emotional level where fights don't faze him, like I'm the only one still feeling anger, insecurity, jealousy. I love him so much, but I'm also starting to hate him a little. Not because he's cheated or been cruel, but because he no longer depends on me, while I still depend on him. And it's driving me crazy. Update, I keep reading the comments, though I'm not sure if they're helping or sinking me deeper. Some of you are harsh, honestly. I've been called insecure, controlling, narcissistic. Someone even said they hope he finds someone who truly values him. That hurt because it Made me wonder if I really don't value him anymore or if I'm just fighting not to feel invisible beside him. Amid all the hate, one comment made me pause. It was from a woman, I think her name was Sarah or something, and she said, "Girl, don't let this dim your light. Show him you can catch other guys' eyes too. Make him feel like you're slipping through his fingers. Make him feel like he doesn't have you locked down." I don't know if she meant it as advice or provocation, but it struck a chord. I thought about it all afternoon. Maybe that was the problem. He felt like he had me completely secured, like I couldn't leave or be desired by anyone else, like he was the only one who could evolve, change, become desirable, while I was stuck in the same place. That night, I decided to test it. I took a shower, shaved, put on lotion, dried my hair carefully, did my makeup with care, something I hadn't done in a long time. I put on a black dress I'd forgotten about in the closet, one that hugged my waist and left my shoulders bare. I put on heels, sprayed on perfume. When I walked out of the bedroom, James was in the living room with Max, our dog, watching something on TV. He glanced at me, then did a double take. He paused, smiled. "You look beautiful, babe." "Thanks," I said, grabbing my purse. "Where you headed?" "To a party. Lauren invited me. Just some girlfriends." He nodded calmly, almost casually, and said, "All right, babe. Have fun. Call me when you're leaving, and I'll pick you up." I froze. I was expecting something else, a reaction, a hint of jealousy, concern, anything. "That's it?" I asked. "What else do you want me to say?" "I trust you. Just be safe." "What? So you're just gonna have some other girl over? Tell her the house is free." James frowned but stayed calm. He just sighed. "No, babe, I'm not having anyone over. I'm just saying have fun." "Yeah, right, so understanding. You're not fooling me. Someone's coming over." "No one's coming over, but if you want, stay and see for yourself." That was like pouring gasoline on a fire. "Oh, so? That was your plan?" "I knew it. You were waiting for me to leave so you could let some chick in." "Emily," he said, sounding exhausted, "go if you want to go. I'm not stopping you. Do what you want." "Just like that? You're not even gonna try to stop me?" "No, because I'm tired of you assuming the worst of me every day." I stared at him, and for a second, I felt like crying, but I swallowed the tears and said, "Fine, I'm going, and I hope you don't do anything stupid." "All right. Go." I slammed the door harder than I meant to and got into the car with my friend Lauren. She already knew everything. I'd told her my plan that afternoon. We weren't really going to a party. We were just going to drive around, grab a light drink, and head back. But when I got in the car, I told her I had a change of plans. I was going back in an hour to catch him, to see if anyone showed up, to trap him if he did something shady. "Emily, are you sure about this?" she asked, a bit uneasy. "Yes, I just need to know if he's doing it or not. I want to see it with my own eyes." We drove around, stopped for coffee nearby. An hour passed, then another. I texted James saying I'd stay out longer and not to pick me up. He just replied, "Okay, babe. Have fun. Love you." Lauren drove me back to the corner of my house. We parked on a side street where we couldn't be seen from the main window. We turned off the lights and sat there. 2 hours, watching. Not a single person showed up. No one rang the doorbell. No one approached the door. Everything was quiet. Lauren fell asleep for a bit. I stayed awake, checking the time, watching the entrance, waiting for a shadow, but nothing happened. I gave up. Almost at midnight, I went home. I opened the door quietly, trying not to make noise. There was James in the living room, Max asleep. Beside him, watching Netflix. He looked at me with calm surprise. "Back so soon?" "Just came to grab something I forgot," I lied, pretending to rummage through my purse. "Oh, okay. Everything all right?" "Yeah, sure." I went upstairs, changed, and texted Lauren to thank her. I felt defeated, but mostly empty, like I'd lost a battle that wasn't even real. A few minutes later, James came up with a bottle of water. "Here," he said. "Drink some so you don't wake up hungover." I didn't drink, I said without looking at him. "Thanks. Everything okay?" "Yeah. Did you have fun?" "Not really." He nodded, left the bottle on the nightstand, kissed my forehead, and went to bed without another word. And here I am, writing this, feeling like an idiot. Because my plan failed. I didn't make him insecure, didn't regain control. He was respectful, calm, faithful. And yet I'm angry because it feels like nothing affects him, like nothing I do hurts him anymore. I feel alone, not because he left me, but because it feels like I'm not fighting a partner anymore, but a mirror. And in the reflection, it's just me. Update: this will probably be the last time I write here, or at least I think so, because I feel like there's nothing left to save. This time, it was bad. I don't even know where to start. I guess I have to admit that my fear, jealousy, and insecurity spiraled completely out of control. Everything people said in the comments, everything I refused to accept, was true. And now James is gone. And the worst part is, I'm the one who pushed everything over the edge. A few weeks ago, there was a guy at work named Ethan, 19 years old, a kid, literally. For months, he'd been throwing hints, giving me compliments, saying I looked nice in a certain blouse or that he liked my perfume. I always ignored him, not because it bothered me, but because I never took it seriously. I knew he was just playfully flirting. But after everything with James, after that night I tried to make him jealous with the party and got nothing, I kept thinking about what that woman, Sarah, said in the comments, make him feel like you're slipping through his fingers. I couldn't get it out of my head, and I made the worst mistake possible. I decided to use Ethan to provoke jealousy. One day at the office, I approached him. I asked if his invitation to grab a drink was still open. He was surprised but smiled. And said, sure, anytime you want. I told him the next day, during lunch, and made sure it was at the coffee shop James always goes to, the one near his office, the one he visits every Tuesday. Yes, I planned it that way. It was dirty, it was cold, but in my head, it made sense. If he saw me with someone else, smiling with another guy, maybe it would spark something in him, make him feel like he was losing me, that I wasn't a sure thing anymore, that he had to fight for me. We sat at a table on the coffee shop's patio. Ethan was talking about nonsense. I barely listened, checking the time, nervous, waiting for the moment. And then it happened. I saw James cross the street with his water bottle in hand, alone as usual. When he saw us, he paused for a second. Then he kept walking, went into the coffee shop, ordered his food to go, and before leaving, he came over to me. Ethan went quiet, uncomfortable. James looked at me with an expression I couldn't read, not angry, not jealous, just disappointed, tired. We'll talk about this at home, he said quietly. And he left. My heart sank. Ethan asked if everything was okay. I said I had to go, apologized, grabbed my things, and ran out. When I got home, the silence hit me like a punch. The bedroom door was open. James was packing his clothes into a suitcase. There was another smaller bag with Max's toys, his leash, his bed. What are you doing? I asked, my voice breaking. I'm leaving, he said without looking at me. No, wait, James, it's not what you think, please. It's not what I think? Emily, it's not what it looks like? Because it looks like you were meeting a 19-year-old kid at the same coffee shop where I eat lunch every week. It looked like a setup. It was, I admitted finally. It was a setup. He went quiet, then laughed without joy. Why? And I couldn't hold it in anymore. I broke down, crying, spilling everything. I told him how I've felt since he lost weight, that I feel insecure, invisible, replaceable, that I don't feel like I have him anymore, that I'm scared someone else will see him and take him. That it hurts that he doesn't need me like he used to, that he doesn't feel fragile or small or dependent on my love anymore, that he feels strong, free, and that makes me feel alone. I told him I love him, that I don't want to lose him, that I did all this just to get a reaction, to see him fight for me. He looked at me, not with hate, but with sadness. And what's your solution? He asked. I froze. I had no answer. The first thing that came out of my mouth was the stupidest, most desperate thing. I don't know, maybe gain the weight back. He laughed a bitter laugh. It hurt more than any yell. I can't believe you just said that. I can't believe it. He kept packing. He didn't say anything else. He just grabbed Max's leash, called him. The dog followed, clueless. I stood in front of the door. Don't go. Please, James, don't leave me. I'm not leaving the woman you were. I'm leaving the woman you've become, he said, looking me in the eyes one last time. And he left. Now the house is silent. The bed smells like him, but his toothbrush is gone. Max's sleeping spot is empty. The TV's still in the living room, but no one turns it on. And I'm sitting here on the floor, feeling like the biggest idiot in the world, not because he left, but because I pushed him away with my own hands. Update: it's been a few months since James left. I won't lie, the first few days were hell. I could barely get out of bed, barely eat, and the nights were the worst. Sleeping in an empty bed, without his footsteps in the kitchen, without his quiet laugh in the mornings, broke my heart. I tried apologizing. I texted, called, even went to see him once. He was polite but distant. He just said, "No, Emily, I can't come back." And I realized I lost him, not to another person, not because of his new body, but because of me, because I couldn't love the version of him that was growing, because I tried to chain him when he needed freedom most. It's still hard. I still check his social media almost every day, heart pounding, terrified of seeing a photo with another woman, a hand holding someone else's, a smile that doesn't include me. So far, I haven't seen anything, but the fear's still there, like a thorn in my chest. I'm trying to heal. I've started looking for therapy, accepting what I did, trying to understand why I did it, seeing if there's anything left in me that can be rebuilt. I don't know if I'll ever stop loving him, but I know I need to learn to love myself, even if all that's left now is ruins. Thank you to those who read this, even those who judged me. Sometimes the harshest truths are the ones you need to hear most. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, it's easy and fast.